Some glitches this evening because it's the week before Rosh Hashanah, and we've been in here for 6 months. The cantor and I have been like a bubble couple for 6 months, almost 7 months doing this service in this room. And we know you're watching because we can see the numbers on Facebook and YouTube on those feeds. But actually, I don't know who's watching until the end of the service, and I can go back and kind of look online and say, oh, you know, it's so nice that these people have been with us. But this space has truly been taken from us as a communal space, and it doesn't even necessarily resemble the sanctuary that you know and love. Daniel, can you kind of back up from me a little bit so we can show everybody? So, you know, this is the bima, and you all know what the bima looks like. You can go a little further back, little further, and now it's starting to change a little bit, and this will give you an idea. That's not enough. That's not enough. You got to go back a little more, Daniel. There we go. We're going back.
I'm still not in it.
Yeah, the cantor's not in the shot. Right. So as you can see, this isn't the sanctuary right now that you all know and love, but the way that we've lived our spiritual lives for years and years has been in this space. Take a look at that. It's actually... it's set up for next week for our High Holy Days. We're not really using those cameras that you see, but and you can't see Amos because he's in front of that screen there. But okay, you can bring him back so that they don't have that reality. This space really has been taken from us, and we have lived our spiritual lives in this space I have for 25 years, and in many ways, my spiritual life is tied to this room, as it is for many of you. And this place and the chapel is where we experience our divinity and peace and tranquility and stillness, whatever it is that you seek inside. That's what this space gives to us. So it's very different to Cantor Weiss and I as well, because there's cameras, as you see, instead of faces. And there's this huge empty space that's devoid of the energy that you bring when you come into this space. People being together creates this unbelievable energy, and we all feel that we're missing that. This space in so many ways has been like an intermediary between the physical world and the spiritual realm. This is the place where we look for transcendence, where we seek peace of mind. This place, this space is a catalyst for spiritual growth for so many of us. Even if you only come here once or twice a year, even if you only come into these walls on the High Holy Days, this is your place where you pray, where you connect. Next week, we won't have that to rely upon. And over the last several weeks, one of the biggest questions that I've gotten from people is, how are the High Holy Days going to be meaningful for me when I'm in the same room that I've been in for the last 6, 7 months? I love going to the synagogue and the sanctuary. I'm really, really going to miss it. I'm really going to miss the community. It is an incredibly important question, and one that every single one of us is trying to come to terms with for this High Holy Days. This week I received an email from Rabbi Lawrence Hoffman, who was a professor of liturgy at Hebrew Union College in New York. And he wrote in his blog, quote, "Synagogues didn't actually become centers for prayer until the 4th century, or maybe even the 6th century. So while churches eclipsed Christian homes, the synagogue arose as just one of 2 sacred foci for Jews, who even now celebrate Shabbat and holidays in our homes. Shabbat and holiday dinners, Passover seders, building a sukkah in our home, as much as we go into the synagogue." Unquote. Well, I find that fascinating and true. The High Holy Days, besides Rosh Hashanah Eve dinner and lunch after services where everyone goes and critiques the sermons all around Los Angeles, most of it does happen in the sanctuary all over the world, except this year. This year is going to be obviously very different. So I'm going to ask you back. Is our connection to God, is our connection to Judaism, or our connection to this congregation based upon the bricks and mortar and chairs in this room? Are our prayers somehow heard better while we're sitting in the seats in this space? Do we need an intermediary like this space or clergy live in front of us to experience spiritual connection? The Chatam Sofer, a wonderful commentator, offers this from the first line in our Torah portion this week. He writes, and this is the first line of the Torah portion, "You stand this day, all of you, before Adonai your God." At the time the Torah was given, we are told in Deuteronomy 5:5, I stood, this is Moses talking, I stood between Adonai and you. How is it that here, just before death, Moses does not stand between God and the Jewish people? One can explain this in accordance with what I heard from my great mentor, Rabbi Natan Adler. As long as a person's teacher is alive, his student cannot reach his greatest potential. This was the case with Joshua, whose light was not revealed until after Moses had died. Similarly, God did not appear to Isaac until Abraham had died. And the same was true of Jacob until Isaac died. The same was true here. Moses told the people, as it were, there at Sinai, my presence that prevented you from coming closer to God. It was as if Moses had served as a partition, preventing the people from attaining a level which would allow them to approach God. At this point, however, Moses was about to die. And as a person who is about to die has lost all his authority, the people were able to approach God directly, unquote. I realize that there is a certain formality, a feeling that comes from praying and singing and listening in this room. I love this room. I love the feeling I get as I walk into this room. Even with all these cameras and all these lights and all that. But perhaps we have relied too much on this space, and that we, the clergy and the symbols in this room, and the reliance upon all of it, is to help us get into a prayerful space that might have been actually getting in the way of our true connection. Maybe without all of this present for you, or the fact that all of this has been taken from us, just like Moses was taken from the people, like Abraham from Isaac, and Isaac from Jacob. Maybe it has all served as a partition that has kept us from a deeper connection with the divine. It's scary to think about that we don't need the synagogue or clergy. Wait, maybe I shouldn't say that or I'd be out of a job. But to actually get there this year, we need something else. I'm not discounting the importance of feeling of community, but that really has been taken from us in a certain way. And I do believe in the value of communal worship and connection, but it's all so different right now. So I think we can call upon another section of our Torah portion that is significant to our predicament. In 30:11, and I'm going to paraphrase this. In 30:11 it says, surely this instruction, this teaching, this Torah is not too far from you. You don't need someone to say, is this teaching in heaven that I have to send someone up into space to take it for me and bring it back and give it to me? Or it's not across an ocean that I have to send someone in a ship to go across the ocean and get it and bring it to me. It is very close to you. It is in your mouth and it is in your heart to observe it. We have everything we need, and it's right here. It is in each of us. It's on our lips, and it's in our heart. And we really do have all that we need. Each one of us needs to realize that we have the ability and the power within us, inside of us, to make these high holy days meaningful. So what does your heart tell you to do with your home to make your home into its own little sanctuary? Is it going to take putting candles up? Is it going to take getting as dressed up like you were going to services on high holy days? Does it take putting pictures all around you of your loved ones and your friends so you can feel like they're with you? How can you make it into a place where you have the room to think and to pray and to reflect and ultimately to rejuvenate yourself for the upcoming year? Maybe we just treat our homes as if they are the sanctuary. And I might suggest, along with those other things like candles or pictures or rearranging the room, maybe you could pick a room where you haven't been on a Zoom call in the last 6 months. Would watching from outside where you can be in nature, or from a room that you aren't in all the time, and you arrange the chairs so that they're special and they're facing east, or whatever it is that brings you closer from your heart so that the words can come out of your mouth more easily. We have everything we need, and it really isn't so far from you. It really is right here, and it's right here. May we all make this year a personal experience of transformation and renewal.